Good morning, my Real News Media TV family. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning, and I'm wishing for everyone a wonderful and a productive day. And in the news this morning, VAZ bemoans the death of a Teachville High student in fatal crash. Minister of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport and a Member of Parliament for Portland Western Darrell VAZ is bemoaning the loss of the lives of two students of Teachville High School in Port Antonio, Portland, as a result of a traffic accident on Tuesday. Reports are that a motor car transporting students collided with a parked motor truck about 4 p.m. on the Blueberry Hill Main Road in Buff Bay, Portland. All occupants of the vehicle received injuries and were taken to the Anota Bay Hospital, where the two student passengers were pronounced dead. The other 5 occupants, including the driver, are reportedly being treated. Devastated by the news, Minister Vaz said, "This is truly heartbreaking, and I can only imagine the pain and the suffering of the parents and the loved ones of the victims, especially the deceased. It is always devastating when we hear about persons losing their lives in this way, but it takes on a different tone when we lose our young people. Something must be done to stem the tide of motor vehicle crashes that occur in our country, and it is not something that I take lightly as Minister with responsibility for transport and a Member of Parliament." The Transport Minister said he has requested that the details of the incident be made available to him as soon as possible. The reports are just preliminary, so of course we are awaiting the detailed report from the authorities. Both MP Anne-Marie Vaz and I offer our condolences and will reach out directly to the families of the deceased. These senseless deaths on our roads are happening far too often as a result of irresponsible driving habits, both by private and public vehicle operators. The National Road Safety Council will meet this week to examine further recommendations to stem and upward the trend of road fatalities, Vaz continued. Basco to return to court on June 11. Errol Basco, former People's National Party caretaker for St. Mary Western, who is facing charges of burglary, is to return to court on June 11. The date was set when the case against him was mentioned in the Anota Bay Resident Magistrates Court on Tuesday, May 14. The matter was postponed due to the non-appearance of Basco's lawyer, Oswester Senior Smith, the complaint and the investigating officer. In March of this year, Basco is said to have allegedly had a sexual encounter with a 23-year-old man from Gale who had reportedly sought the educator's assistance in a legal matter. Basco at the time of the incident was principal of the Taki High School and is now on leave of absence from his duties. Gas station workers charged for alleged fraud to return to court July 9. A plea and a case management hearing has been set for July 9 for 3 men charged for alleged pocketing money from the sale of phone credit at a Portmore gas station. Maurice Morant, Chevron Osborne and Tyreek Austin are charged with larceny as a servant and unauthorized access to computer with intent to facilitate the commission of a criminal act. When the matter came up for mention on Tuesday, it was revealed that Osborne, who is accused of pilfering $1.25 million, has made a restitution for $500,000. Osborne was granted $300,000 bail, and Austin, who is accused of stealing $920,000, was granted bail in the sum of $1 million with a surety. The third accused, Morant, allegedly stole $890,000 and was already on station bail. The 3 former employees of the Ruby service station in Portmore reportedly gained unauthorized access to a phone card machine between November 2023 and February this year, and they sold a call credit. They reportedly spent the proceeds. Another accused, Corey Carter, was freed after making restitution. Teen charged following fatal stabbing of schoolmate in Manchester. The 17-year-old boy who was arrested in connection with the fatal stabbing of his classmate at the Catholic College in Manchester on Monday has been charged. The teenager was charged Tuesday afternoon with the offenses of murder and wounding with intent. He is booked to appear in court on June 4. This was disclosed by Deputy Superintendent Kerry Duncan, head of the Manchester Police, who said officers are still in the process of interviewing potential witnesses. 20-year-old Akeelia White died from stab wounds she received during a dispute at the institution located in Williams Field. The other 17-year-old victim received the stab wounds when he went to her assistance. DSP Duncan said that teen is stable and his injuries are not considered serious. Classes were suspended at the school on Tuesday.
We are still in the process of interviewing potential witnesses, and we expect that charges will be laid later on today. The other young man that was injured remains in hospital. His condition at this point is not considered serious, but he is stable. And we just wish him well and hope that he recovers fully.
Keith Clark's widow testifies in murder trial. Dr. Claudette Clark, the widow of accountant Keith Clark, who was killed in 2010 by members of the security forces, fought hard to hold back tears while recounting the moment she witnessed the 3 soldiers firing shots at her husband. Dr. Clark, the prosecution's first witness in the murder trial, took the stand about 10:39 Tuesday morning, but it was in the afternoon session that she became emotional. Recalling the horrifying night of May 26, 2010, Dr. Clark, who was an education officer, said she returned home with her younger daughter about 8 o'clock. She said they ate, showered, and went to bed. About an hour later, her husband arrived home and asked her if she made dinner. She said she felt guilty, so she made him a sandwich. The widow said soon after her husband fell asleep. Moments after, she said she heard the sound of a helicopter or plane. Dr. Clark said when she heard the sound getting closer, she looked through her windows. That was when she saw the helicopter or plane flying over the area. She said she woke her husband and brought it to his attention, but they went back to bed. While laying in bed, Dr. Clark said she heard a bang on the roof and what sounded like the sawing of the grill. She again alerted her husband. The widow said at that time the sounds got louder. Noting that they began panicking, Dr. Clark said she and her husband went to their second daughter's bedroom. Responding to the prosecution whether she had heard any other sound, when she went to her daughter's bedroom, Dr. Clark said the sounds were coming from all over the house. In an attempt to get to the basement, she told the court that she, her husband, and the daughter huddled together and went downstairs to the living room area. Dr. Clark said she was panicking and could not find the correct key to open the door to the basement. She said they returned to the master bedroom. At that point, she said her husband climbed atop the closet and instructed her and their daughter to hide in the bathroom located inside the master bedroom, which they did. At that point, she began calling her neighbors while her daughter dialed 119. Dr. Clark said when the sounds got closer, she suggested to her daughter that they should go outside, identify themselves, and beg for mercy. But she said just as she and her daughter came out of the bathroom, the master bedroom door opened and the 3 men dressed in army gear entered. The widow said before she could finish identifying herself and the members of the household, she was asked, "Where they?" She said at that point her husband was coming from off the closet. Dr. Clark added that his feet were on the window and his back turned. Responding to the prosecutor, she said her husband had nothing in his hands. Dr. Clark said that was when 1 or 2 of the men in an army gear opened a gunfire, hitting her husband. Responding to the prosecutor on whether the men identified or declared themselves, Dr. Clark said no. She said they only asked, "Where the gunman them dey?" Dr. Clark said after her husband was shot, the men clad in army gear asked, "Where the rest of the gunman them dey?" Lance Corporals Greg Tinglin and Odell Buckley and the Private Arnold Henry are on trial for Mr. Clark's murder. The trial continues today.